Hey everybody, Jess Intuitive Angel Healer here with your Grounded. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today and welcome to another episode of Dancing in the Toxic Shadows, finding empowerment and hope through the toxicity. This is a podcast that features an empowered soul swim through the toxic waters of life and how they have found the courage, strength, and blind faith used to obtain the life they truly want to live, and encourage others to take that same leap of faith, no matter if they can only see the first two steps or not. Today, we have a very special guest from my neck of the woods, Inglewood, Colorado. I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We have Miss Gail Hamilton. Hi, Gail. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I am doing very well. Now, Gail is a published author of her own book, Soaring Into Greatness. She's also a psychotherapist, motivational speaker, and also you are blind. And I just want to make a note to our viewers out there. I haven't got to have someone on here that's blind to chat about that because I've worked in the medical field since 2008. And when you're blind, it's like you lose one sense, but the rest of them blow up. And you get like almost like this little magic superpower, but it's a whole different world that you live in, and I love it. And I love your whole story that I read about your journey through the toxic shadows, and your episode's name is Seeing with Your Heart within the toxic shadows. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Gail. And if you can just tell us your name, age, where you're from, and a little bit about your journey.
Well, Gail Hamilton. I'm actually 68 years young.
Nice.
Uh, originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. Now living in Inglewood, Colorado. So many parts about me. As you said, well, I've starred in a couple operas. This is my sizzle reel. So the
Nice.
operas, the book. I built a formal Habitat for Humanity house, and with my own two little hands, everything from the subfloor to the roof. I was there, and recently, last year before the pandemic, I climbed the Sydney Harbor Bridge and went to Australia. So that's my sizzle reel.
I
There's
love
a
it.
yeah
That's
yeah
an awesome sizzle reel.
it's pretty
Now,
cool. Yeah.
yes, I think so. I mean, I think that is so fantastic. Now, a little bit about this book that you wrote, Soaring Into Greatness. Go ahead if you want to go ahead and share your journey about how you came about writing your memoir of your
Hmm.
journey in this life.
I I I was in psychotherapy one day, and uh and I have an aha moment before then and all that. But before then, at that session, she said, "What did you want to do with yourself?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be famous and write a book." And she said, "I see." And when a therapist says "I see," it really means, you're crazy, you're nuts. How are you going to do? I'm going to be famous and write a book. So I had one piano student at the time, and my finances were horrible and barely making it and asking people for money. And I'm going to be famous and write a book. And she said, uh, "What is keeping you from doing it now?" And I went, "Oh, and then I came up with all these excuses like we all do. Well, how come we don't want to do the it in our life?" And one after another, I needed an editor. I didn't know how. I should take some classes, dot, dot, dot. And finally, I ran out of them. And I said, "Well, I guess there's nothing keeping me from writing." And so I just started writing 2 hours a day. And I actually wrote 10 copies of it. It took me 10 years and 10 edits later before I published it. But I wanted the reason to do it, to write it, was to get my story out there, to let people know they weren't alone, that I've gone through the hard. And the blindness was not, the hard. I mean, in a way it is, because it affects every single aspect of my life, even sleeping. So it's not the blindness, I mean, it's the messages I got because of being blind, and the obstacles, the mental and the physical and the emotional and societal and the discriminations and you name it, I've done it. And it was overcoming all that to get on the other side and believing that I could make a difference and empower other people. And that's the why. And I think I've forgotten my sizzle reel that I was Miss Colorado Senior America and fourth in the country. So
That's
I do all,
fantastic.
yeah, I do all that to empower others that you can do anything because I've done it. I've overcome a whole bunch of stuff to get where I am.
I think that's amazing because that's what I'm all about. I started my business in 2018, and I thought I had everything going. I was a medical assistant. I went to school, almost had my 30 credits away from my bachelor's. I was married, had a kid. Life
Mm,
was going normal, and then all of a sudden I had this spiritual awakening, and I've learned that my purpose extends way past just,
mm,
taking someone's vitals and history at a doctor's office, but
right.
actually, I am here to be a voice for the voiceless and to hold
Hmm.
platforms. That's why I created this platform, because so many of us go through I like to call it the toxic shadows, because everything's hidden in there, and you're kind of almost blind when you're going through the toxic shadows. Most of us, I was for many years, and then you come out and you're like, wow, there's life's not supposed to be like this. And when you have a disability, I find that there's people don't talk about what's on the other side of disability, like you just said, the struggles that you have, not with the disability itself, but people and
Right.
society,
Right.
and dark little secrets that go on even at a doctor's office, of
Oh my
there's
goodness.
just
Yeah.
so many things. And
I could do a whole episode on doctor's offices.
I personally know this because since I'm a light worker, I come and I pay extra special attention to make sure I help people, that, need. But there's other people that are in doctor's offices that are going there. They might as well work at a fast food restaurant because they're
Hmm.
flipping burgers just like they're flipping
Right.
patients, and
Right.
the
Right.
care is not there. So
Yeah.
I
The
would like
passion isn't there.
the passion is not there. And I always told myself, if I lose my passion for people, because it's a people business,
Hmm.
so if I lose my passion for loving people, I'm going to quit.
Right.
And that's what
Absolutely.
everybody should do. If you can't be in the medical field and have compassion, empathy, and love, then there's plenty
Yep.
of jobs in the world. But I want to hear more about your journey a little bit to start off. I know you sent your biography over, and you have quite a story going on. What would you say was the breaking moment that you said enough was enough? And just a little bit more about your story, because I know that you have quite the story.
Yeah. I was thinking about that before I came on. And, there's the conscious story and the subconscious story in a way. When I was a kid, I didn't know. I mean, I was born 2.5 months premature. I weighed 2 pounds. Um, I have a twin brother. They put 100% pure oxygen in my incubator. So I came out with retinopathy of prematurity. I had partial sight. I could see large print. I could ride a bike. I could watch TV, chase butterflies. So I could do some normal stuff. I went to a school for the blind and all that. I didn't know subconsciously anything. I mean, I was just tootling along. Um, and and as a teen, I went to a school for the blind, and in high school, I went to a parochial high school, which there's a whole nother segment because the difference in education was 6 years, and I was flunking out, and I was so depressed, and that maybe started my conscious depression was in high school. I was always behind. I couldn't keep up, and I was just not a happy camper. Um, Went to college, did all that. Still probably unhappy, but didn't really know it. got that master's, got that doctorate. Societal discriminations all along the way, which is a whole nother, I mean, I can go into those. And yet, when I started my master's degree, after already having a master's in music, but when I started my master's degree in psychology and counseling, and that's about the same time, God has great ways of hitting you with things. Same time I got into a relationship, and both they were the blessings in the big picture, because but it's the hardest degree I ever got, because you have to go internally and dig out everything. And then the relationship wasn't working, and all of a sudden, because of the relationship, I get hit with my past, and I had no idea, you know. And I so I can remember asking questions to my partner and to the therapist. Is this normal? Is this not normal? Is, is it normal to be in a relationship with somebody and we'll just get blunt, have sex and all of a sudden have visions of your father and faces and lights, and what is all that? And I was freaked out because I'm blind, but I have internal memories and visions and stuff. And I had no idea what all that was. And so I began psychotherapy, and um, I can remember sitting in a journaling class at the time and just, well, actually, when it really started too, was I was in before the journaling class, I was in another class for, what was it? Uh, I don't remember, but we had to go to the mountains and we had to be quiet the whole time. Well, for a blind person to not talk and I couldn't
Yeah.
see, it was like
Torture.
torture. And I was thinking this morning, I must have felt trapped. I must psychologically. And I remember they said, because you weren't supposed to say a word for the whole weekend. And I thinking, I'm in a strange place, in a strange environment. I don't even know where the bathroom is. Mayday. There's going to have to be some talking here. If
They
we're
should
going
have had bells or something for
to,
you. That's not right.
yeah, some orientation, something. And she did say, we'll let you talk to get your basic needs met and some of that. But I wasn't supposed to talk a lot. So I'm sitting in this class the second day, and I don't remember. We're doing some kind of movement thing, and we bent over like to touch our toes or something. And that's the first time the lights and the faces came. And I went, oh my God. And I freaked out, and I'm sorry, crying and all this stuff. And the teacher said, well, now you can talk. Well, now I couldn't talk. I could not verbalize what was going on. I couldn't, because I probably regressed,
That's scary.
to, infant or whatever I regressed to. And yeah, I couldn't say a word. And I was just so devastated. That was the first time, and the journaling thing, that teacher was actually very good. But I started feeling suicidal for the first time right after that class. Just, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, and that's what started me to going into psychotherapy, which I'm glad I did. And then I was in this toxic, speaking of toxic relationships, where I gave up my whole self to my partner. I gave up my music. I gave up deciding what I was going to wear. I gave up what I was going to eat. Talk about toxicity. I gained 60 pounds because I wanted to please my partner.
Been
Yeah, you
there.
want that for dinner? You betcha. And I did 60 pounds later. I gave up me. I gave up yeah, I just my whole self. Why I'm in therapy, why I'm discovering about my father abusing me, why I'm discovering about my brother abusing me, why I'm discovering, and not just abuse, sex, and both of them. And I think a lot of people with disabilities have been sexually abused, and I'm just
Yes.
freaking out. I mean, so, and I was depressed and I was suicidal, and the flashbacks all the time, total flashbacks, PTSD now. And yeah, and just, even though I'm getting this master's degree, I'm just personally a mess, a total mess. And I didn't, and a relationship is wrong when you're so unhappy. And
Yes.
I didn't, but I wanted to hold on because I loved my partner and I wanted to stay with my partner for the rest of my life. And I committed, it was like, give really. really, Gail. And it took me about 10 years to let go. And I mean, especially when your partner has sex with another woman, that's a really good time to let go.
Yes,
It's like,
usually.
okay, there's my I'm done moment. You know, okay, you're officially out of here. Okay, no more of that. All right. But it took 10 years because I committed. And to me, and it's true, when you make a commitment, it's a sacred commitment between me and God. And I don't break my commitments unless I really feel like I need to. And then I go to the other person and say, I'm sorry, I need to break. Now I'm more aware more quickly when it's not going to work for me. And I was so emotionally depressed for all that time, and I didn't know how to get up what I call in my book, get up the basement steps to the ground floor. And I just was so entrenched in that pain. And I didn't want to let go of the pain because the pain was who I was. And if I let go of the pain, then who would I be? And I can remember saying that to her. And what if you, and I said, and she said, what if you could still have your memories and not the pain? And I went, you're crazy, woman. I have to have my pain. I just tell you, I have to live in it. I have to wallow in it. But even, and then at the same time, I didn't want to be in the pain. I do. And I was the person, the kind of psychotherapy client that I didn't want to, and I had this analogy of a car. I didn't want to just polish the car and drive down the street blindly through my life. I wanted to not only get in the driver's seat and drive my own car, but I couldn't when I was the passenger and being the victim. There's no way you're driving the car. But I wanted to get out of the car, open up the engine, take all the pieces out, clean them really good. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. That was my philosophy. And then clean all those pieces, polish them all up, get the oil out, find out what made me tick, and then put all those pieces back in the car, in the engine, and then put the hood down and get back in and then drive the driver's seat. And I feel I've done that. Totally. I mean, and it took 10 years of kicking and screaming and more kicking and more screaming because I did Gestalt psychotherapy with EMDR. And I did that for years to get all that pain, the pain of the birth trauma, the pain of what my father did to me, the pain of what my brother did to me. I just kicked and screamed for 10 years until it finally resolved itself. And I think the book, that was one of the healing processes in there, because I keep telling people being blind has its perks because I can cry and type at the same time. So that was pretty cool. Most sighted people can't do that, but that was part of the cathartic. Um, the other thing was I read another book that totally changed my life, and I said, no more, and I decided to change, and that's the next part of that story. But yeah, it was
Nice.
it was it was intense for those 10 years.
I
Really, really
can
intense.
I can totally relate to you. That's what was my moving force of creating all of my stuff is everybody's got a starting point, and mine was my 10-year toxic marriage. Um, and when I didn't know I married a narcissist, I thought I married the
Mhm.
love of my life. And
Yeah, yeah.
10 years later, and a kid, and
Mm,
lots more trauma, and I find out that when I have clients come to me, because I'm a spiritual grounding coach, and everybody's question is, when am I going to find love? Who's the love of
mm,
my life? That's,
no.
if you tell me you're an angel card reader, that's
Mhm.
the first question you're going to get is,
Yes.
where's the love of my life? And
Oh, funny.
my answer is always, well, unfortunately, you're not going to get that guy until you learn all those lessons. So until
Yep.
you decide to say, hey, I'm ready to put on my big girl pants and hold my teddy bear and look at all my
Mhm,
lessons, because I
mhm.
suggest a blanket and a teddy bear and it sounds childish,
Absolutely. Nope,
but you
nope,
know what,
nope, nope, nope.
I
Been there
evolved.
and done it.
And I've also found that because people don't talk about the other side because it's
Mhm.
uncomfortable. And my
Right.
whole life I've been screaming out, "Hey, there's something wrong with me. I need help. I'm not sure what anxiety is, but I'm
Mhm,
pretty sure I have it." And they're like,
mhm,
"Nope, you're making it all up in your head."
mhm,
So I understand that, and you have to just take a stand for yourself, and not let people you're going to do what you're going to do. And you got to let
And
go of
you
those
have,
trauma bond
yeah,
relationships. Cause if you
yeah.
don't, you're, and until you process all that pain, you're
Mhm,
not going to understand. You have to understand the lessons, and if you integrate those, but it takes, you need to get a good tribe. I always tell people get a
mm,
good tribe of people, because when you go through, it's called a dark night of the soul, and
mhm,
people
mhm,
really don't understand that term. But if you've ever seen Soul, the movie Soul on
mm.
Disney that just came out, there's the
Oh,
dark
cool.
night of the soul, and it's all the people that are just going, they're in the, it's about life and death, it's
Nice.
uh and they're on the other side, and you see all these like robotic things, and they're pushing the sand, and they're all dark and sad, and they're like, what are those?
Mm.
Well, those are all, there's people in there, there's a soul in there. But the dark
Mhm,
night of the
mhm,
soul
mhm.
is basically like you're just having an existential crisis of, oh my gosh, like this is what my life is. But once you get past that,
Oh, yeah,
life
it's
opens
really
up,
cool.
and it's
Yeah.
beautiful. But it's all about getting past that. And I've also learned something new, because I've been on my own soul searching journey lately of doing my thing. And I've learned lotuses actually, did you know that they thrive in the poop? So
Oh, well, huh.
they
Oh, that's cool.
thrive
Okay.
in the dirtiest conditions. So, like, say a
Mm,
dirty, scummy, nasty pond. Okay, it's got all that nastiness. It's going to
mm,
thrive. So we're almost like a lotus flower. You
mm,
put you in the dirtiest. You thrive off of the dirt and the stuff. And the more
mhm,
that gets darkness that gets thrown at you, you
mhm.
take it in and you internalize it, and you become a bigger, brighter lotus flower. So I think
Yeah,
that's
that's nice.
a
That's
really
nice.
fun
Yeah.
metaphor to use.
Yeah, and I've been writing blogs lately about you have to go through the dark in order to step into the light. It's you can't have one without the other. And it's not what'd you say a second ago? Like overcoming your dark, it's you have to walk
Facing it.
through it. You
You
have
just
to
have
face
to
it.
face
You
it.
have to walk through it. You just have to walk through it. And it is going to end. You are going to get on the other side, whatever that it is. And like, for example, my blindness, I can't become miraculously sighted. I got prosthetics, so that's not happening. Um, and yet, how do I live with being blind? How do I cope with it on a daily basis? How do I walk into my walls and go, oh, now, and I say there are my I want to say bitch to be blind, but I don't know if I could say that. But
Yeah,
bitch to be
you
blind
say
days.
whatever.
When you run into a wall and I hit my head and I cry and I just go, God, if I ran into that wall one more time, or maybe it hit someplace really sensitive on my body. So it's like, wow, that really did hurt. And what a metaphor for life. How do you run into your walls? Do you say, wow, that really did hurt? Well, and then sometimes it does. And you acknowledge it and you go and you cry. And then you breathe, you stop and you breathe and you go, okay, I'm still here. I can remember, and then you move on. But I was going to say, I can remember when I was left alone after my partner left, and that first Christmas, and it's written in a book on page 293 or whatever page. Don't quote me on a page number, but I can remember my seeing-eye dog was laying on the couch, and I was putting up the Christmas tree, and I was putting the skirt around the bottom of the tree, and I lost it. I totally lost it because I'd been with this person for 10 years and now I wasn't. And I remember lying on the floor, sobbing into that Christmas tree skirt for 45 minutes,
Oh.
just full out sobbing because I missed, the relationship. And then at the end of that 45-minute sob, I can remember going, somebody should take a picture of me. I look really pathetic.
Oh.
Look at this Gail on the floor, flat out on her stomach for 45 minutes underneath that tree, crying with the dog on the couch. But I made it. But I knew, and maybe that was, but I knew at that time because that was, that wasn't my suicidal moment. that was a whole during that relationship when I felt totally suicidal. And I can remember that moment wanting to kill myself. And I had the plan and I had it all figured out how it was going to happen. And I called my therapist, but I had the plan. And so, it's serious when
Yeah,
you,
that's the number one thing. If you have
that's
a
the number
plan,
thing. Yeah. And I had the plan and I was thinking how I could do it. And I had the resources because being blind, it's real tricky. You can't shoot yourself because, oh my God, I might miss, and where am I? I don't know. And that could be bad. And then, and uh, pills, where am I going to get the pills? It's like, and I can't go take a car and run into a tree because I don't have it. So you have to figure it out. I was going to hang myself in the basement. So, and I had kind of
well,
figured
I'm
out how
glad you didn't.
I
That
know, I know. I went and being that I had the therapy background, I knew because it wasn't the first time I thought this, and the very, so I can remember some of those other times when they didn't. I knew to go get help. I knew to call the therapist. I knew to say, I got the plan. I need to come in, and she got me in and she knew I was serious. And boy, talk about the anger work that came out of that session. Whoa, it was intense, but I'm glad I did it. So there is totally hope. And I guess the walls, now I say, for me, as a blind person, do I tap the wall with my cane? Do I go around it? Do I try to put a door there where there isn't one? How do you handle the walls in your life? But there always are going to be walls. It's a matter of how we embrace them. Because thank God for walls. If we didn't have them, they wouldn't hold our houses up. We need walls.
I love that. And I'm going to
That's good.
remember that. I'm a metaphor person, so I'm going to be remembering that for the rest of my life. Because,
Yeah.
I was watching one of the gurus the other day and they were talking about we are here, that you hear about we're spiritual beings having a
Mm-hmm.
human experience,
Right.
but what we don't understand is there's not good. He was talking about good and bad people. There's not good and bad people. There's happy people and then there's miserable people. But our
Yeah.
job is not to decide who's good or bad. Our
Mm-hmm.
job is to be around those people, be in the people. And he's like, I've never, and he's a guru, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I've never really found another person that has been on the level of me that I really want to talk to, and I probably never will. So that's not for me to search out for another person like me. It's to search out another vibration, around
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
and to
Mm-hmm.
help the people that are around me, if they're not on that vibration, to help lift them up
Yeah.
to that
Awesome.
vibration. So
Right. Right. Right.
I really it really stuck with me though, because my biggest karmic lesson on this whole uh, walk and journey is reacting.
Mm.
And, and learning how to take that 5 seconds and walk away or take the higher
Right.
road.
Right.
And it is
Right.
the hardest thing in the
Uh,
world. And I admit it to everyone because,
mm.
I always tell people, don't ever hide anything because it's all going to come to the light at some
Yep.
point. So I'm just
Absolutely.
honest. Yeah, I
Yep.
don't know how
Absolutely.
to not react to people.
No, that's good. That's good.
But now that I
Yeah.
do know that, I hold it and I make sure
Count
that
to 10, right?
well, I listen to people because
Yeah.
now I'm learning now I gotta analyze. So now it's probably why I don't like to hang around a lot of people, because I gotta do so much thinking when I'm doing it. But who are I wanted to ask you, who or what uh did you use as a source of motivation to help you keep going on your journey? And do you have any personal recommendations for others like yourself out there that may be going through may have went through a struggle similar to yours?
Hmm. Well, I had lots of little champions in my life, and people in the light, that knew that, and I always say you have to have those people. My first one was my grandmother, and then my next one was probably my voice teacher when I was getting my master's. People that nurtured, guided, and empowered me. Probably my next one was my psychotherapist, and so those have been probably the key people. And now I have some coaches that are being just excellent, going over and beyond what they want. Books. Lynn Grabhorn is the book that I read that changed my life, called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting, phenomenal book, but you can't just read it. It's like a workbook. You have to do what it says to do. And I did. And that's totally what changed my life um, when I decided, because I started writing my book, and then of course all the memories come up. But then within 3 months, my mom died. Um, I had to go through several surgeries, one of which was to remove my eyes. I had to sell my house, and there's another one in there, as if that's not enough. But anyway, all that in a 3-month period, and I just kept writing, kept writing. But Lynn's book was my aha moment. It was once I did what she said to do, that's when I built the Habitat for Humanity. That's when my mind shift changed, that I was the creator of my destiny, and that my thoughts are what creates me. And it's not, and if my thoughts are, I'm not going to do it, I'm not good enough. And my belief as a blind person was that anybody sighted was better than me, had more value than me. Like, how crazy was that? And it took a lot of therapy to undo that belief system. And that's what I built. That's the house, the book, the Miss America, the Australia, all that came from reading her book, but integrating it. So one of the things, now I know you didn't ask this yet. I mean, you asked me a whole different question, but what my philosophy is that I had to say for the Miss America pageant was, I believe my desire to fly must be bigger than my fear of falling. Vision is internal, not external, is guided by my heart, not my eyes. And in order to be free to fly, I must want my dream, feel my dream, and believe that my dream will come true. And most importantly, I must live my dream. I'm the creator of my destiny, the composer of my symphony, and I choose to live a life of greatness. And that's not just my philosophy, that's who I am now to the core of my being.
I love it.
And so my people I look up to, Louise Hay, Esther and Jerry Hicks, probably be Oprah, and just probably whoever has the
Dwayne
Unity,
Dyer. I
Wayne
love.
Dyer, the Unity Church. They have some phenomenal writers and speakers in there. Yeah, anybody positive. Mike
Nice.
Dooley, Tut. The what's his emails every day I get
Um,
from the universe. I love those. You'd
yeah,
like it. If you don't get them, you'd like them.
I don't know. I get so much stuff
Oh,
in
I'm
my.
sure. Mike Tooley's great. He's great. He's my. It's
Yes,
just a little short. It's like it could be one sentence or 4 paragraphs. Most of the time, it's one sentence. So he's great. Um, so those are some of my. Yeah. Anybody's positive. My gurus.
fun. What is a now that you've gotten through the other side of your toxic shadows? Because everybody, it's kind of like, what do we do now? But the biggest thing that I'm always preaching is self-care. You
Hmm.
gotta have self-care because I know personally, I've worked through all of my stuff, and I'm
Hmm.
still working through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know, and anybody who tells you, because there for a while, I had a lot of people telling me, putting it in my head that if because sometimes you talk to spiritual people that are just so full of themselves that they
Yeah.
tell
Up
you
here. Yeah.
that you're supposed to have everything figured out, and once you go through a trauma, you're never supposed to feel that again. And I'm like,
Uh,
yeah, okay, well,
no. No.
it didn't happen like that for me. Unfortunately, I've got
No,
my
it doesn't.
stuff under wraps and I don't react and act like a hot mess anymore.
Hmm.
But I feel that you end up like, it's like you're viewing a movie when you go through this and you start sorting through it. So you're still going to look at it, maybe not get that feeling of hurt, but it's not going to be a comfortable memory that you're going to want to think about. So you kind of just, that's for me anyways. I
Hmm.
feel that it's something to be managed every day. It's not going to just go away, but it's not going to hurt as bad. It's not going to
Right.
be in the forefront of your
Right.
mind. So I always am big on, you got to have some kind of self-care regimen, because that's the biggest thing of what got us here
Hmm.
is not caring for ourselves and not having that self-love, because
Hmm.
most of us were never taught it.
Right.
We were told it was selfish. So what
Right.
is your routine look like for self-care, and what are, if you have any tips out there for our viewers?
My routine, several things. One of them is journaling. I get up, I kind of read the daily word from Unity, just see if there's anything in there that I can and then I start writing. And sometimes my writings turn into blogs, and sometimes they're just for me, just saying, here's what happened yesterday, and blah blah. But I write. I do better when I write because it gets it out of my head and it gets it into my fingertips. And a lot of my profound thoughts and ideas and speeches come from a little nugget that I wrote. And I go, oh, that's a blog, or oh, that's a book, or and or maybe it's nothing, or it just gets it out of my head. And so I start my day with writing pretty much. Next, I would say I stretch and I take care of my body, so I'll stretch, um, and I'll do that. And then if depends on my time and my schedule, my day, I'll go exercise. I'll either go take a walk, or I live in a apartment building that has a treadmill and a bike, and I'll go do those two things. Right now I'm in training for CNI dog number 7. So I'm working up to get, you know, um, in training for that because it's pretty rigorous. And
Nice.
yeah, and I got stories there too, all about CNI. I got lots of CNI dog stories. Um, Trauma there too. That's it's not all, oh, we get a dog, yay. And then I eat well. I took all the time, talking about a while ago when I gained the 60 pounds, I totally turned vegan. I eat well because that's what my body respects is good food. So it took me 7 years to let go of all the toxic foods and the processed stuff and to totally go. And do I have my downfall days? Absolutely. Even vegan, you can eat too many crackers and cheese, vegan crackers and cheese. You can eat too many nuts. You can do whatever. So, it comes up to get me sometimes. But they always say that awareness is the first step. And
Yes.
like once the conscious mind becomes aware, then you have to become responsible. And I always think that's like, oh, now I'm responsible for me. Okay. And so, uh, dang. Um, but I make sure I eat well. I try to sleep well. I've had some insomnia over the years, but I do try to go to bed at the same time every night and get up. I certainly get up at the same time every day, no matter what. Or sometimes I get up earlier, just depends. But yeah, so sleeping, eating, my emotional health is, probably the writing. Um, One of my sayings is ground in God and soar in spirit. So I try to. I'm in between churches at the moment, but I still stay connected to reading something spiritual or listening to something spiritual to keep, like you say, the vibration up and to keep you going on the way towards the light. What else do I
Nice.
do? Yeah, so those are my main things I do. Probably
That's
make music sometimes because that's my other passion.
well, do you play an instrument?
I sing, I play piano, and I play auto harp.
Wow, that's really cool. I played the flute when I'm trying to get
Ah,
back into that. I'm thinking about playing the flute again because
yeah,
I
just
was
do
really
it.
good at it when I was in middle school. So,
Yeah, yeah, just
but
do it. Just for you. Yeah, just do it.
exactly. And
There's a lovely quote by Louise no wait, Julia Cameron is another one that kind of led me on my path, but she says in there, "Do you know how old you'll be by the time you learn to play the piano or the flute? The same age you'll be if you don't."
exactly.
Exactly.
It's very
Just thought
true.
I'd throw
And
that out there.
they always say music soothes the savage beast. So I always tell people if you're feeling down,
Hmm.
put some music on. It totally can change your
Oh, change your
mind.
vibration. Yeah,
But yeah, but make
absolutely.
sure you put good good, like I try, I've learned I love binaural beats because I love to hear the
Binary.
music but without the
Uh-huh.
words, because
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
we don't think about all these songs on the radio and the TV shows that we watch and all the subliminal stuff that
Oh,
is being put into
absolutely.
our brain.
Absolutely.
I'll be having a good morning and then all of a sudden I'll get in my car, turn on the radio, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, this song really right now did not need to pull up that memory. Thanks a bunch, but and then you
Oh,
learn,
yeah.
to change that, but
Right. Yeah. Change the
um
channel. There's a whole blog. Change the channel. Yeah, that's a great blog.
I love
Yeah.
talking to you're fun to chat
Yeah.
with because um I love your energy and your spirit. And it's funny that people don't understand that's another thing with this toxic uh, podcast that I do here is to let people know, not everyone's sad and depressed and lowly just
No.
because they're going through stuff, and everybody paints this picture
Yeah,
because
yeah,
society
yeah,
paints this
yeah, yeah,
picture of
yeah.
what we're supposed to look like. Guess what? People who are depressed, people who have PTSD, people who have issues
Yep.
look like me, look like you,
Right.
look like
Absolutely.
everyone, and all of us are going through it. So be kind to the person
Right.
next to
Because
you,
you never
because
know. Yeah.
we all have that Kodak smile. We are
Right.
trained to put it on, but
Absolutely. And on
obvious.
the other hand, you can't. I have a friend, and she'll say, "Well, last year," and I would say she's chronically depressed, and she certainly doesn't take care of herself because she's like 500 pounds, and all I can do is kind of love her here and there. But I don't choose to be around her because she is pretty toxic. But she says, "Oh, my partner died, and my CNI dog died, and I have to get over everything before I can move on." I don't think so. You can move on and have, other things in your life go on.
Baby
I
steps.
mean, yeah, I mean, and maybe you don't move on with joy and gusto, but you have to move on. I mean,
Or
you
move
can't sit in your
forward.
apartment and grieve for 50 years because you think you're going to get over it. I mean, the
Hmm.
best way to do is to talk it out, to walk it out, to, go do take it. My three things are alignment with God, positive attitude, and action, taking one to action step. If you have those three things, you're doing pretty good. And
Awesome.
some days one take over the other, but you have to have all three of those basically in balance.
Exactly. And I'm a very big believer of that because I knew what the element that was missing from my life was the spiritual aspect of it.
Mhm.
And people get confused. That's the journey that I'm on right now, is trying to, because I go to like a metaphysical church, because I'm
Mhm.
trying to get the to help people understand the concept, because that's what, if you
Mhm.
don't have your spiritual concept, and it's not religion, it's
Right.
religion is the vessel that we drive
Right.
that gets us to
Right.
spirituality, and
Right.
and
Yeah,
it's the
good. Good. I like
enlightenment
that.
path that gets you to spirituality. And that's what I
Mhm.
try to tell people: as long as you got faith,
Mhm.
that's what you need. You don't need a per se a religion, you
Right.
just need
Right.
to have open mindedness to,
Mhm.
whatever, because your angels are always talking to you. You're always getting
Mm.
there. If you feeling alone,
Mhm.
it's because you've disconnected yourself and you've taken
Yeah.
yourself away
Yeah.
from the light.
Yeah.
But once you
Yeah.
start just being still and listen, and ask your angels, hey, can I have a message? Let me have
Mhm.
a sign that you're here. They'll show you something. You'll
Yeah.
you'll get
Yeah.
something. So
Right. Yeah,
um
that's awesome.
what does your journey look like now that you've taken back your power from the toxic shadows and its inhabitants? And what is some advice that you have for our viewers out there that are on a similar toxic journey?
I you never know what God's doing while you're playing your life, as they say. But currently, I'm doing some podcasts, I'm doing some blogs. I just applied for TEDx talk. I don't know if I'll get it, but I just did that. And I'm hopefully getting dog 7 this summer. Um, and I'm hoping all those don't happen in the same month because that would be a challenge to figure out. Like, so I never know what my futures are going to be in a way because I just kind of follow my heart and I follow spirit, and if it brings me joy, I just go do it. So right now, writing's bringing me joy and speaking's bringing me joy. So I just go. It'd be nice to make a dollar or two at it, but I just keep doing what brings is my passion because I believe that's what we have to do. And my advice to somebody else, you
For someone
yeah.
who's going through the struggle of, because you get to that point with your disability that it's just frustrating. You're
Mhm.
like you said, you run into the walls and you're like,
Right.
oh, if I could just not run into this wall again, that'd be awesome. What do
Right.
you give to the advice to the people out there that are just, they need some encouragement that it's going to be okay on the other
Yeah.
side of
Well,
it?
you can certainly do the it, whatever that hard thing is. And if you can't do the it, then there's always somebody that's gone before you that's dealt with the it. Whether it be me or or you, it just, there's somebody you can reach out to. It could be a friend, it could be a psychotherapist, it could be a teacher, it could be anyone, somebody you look up to. And it doesn't have to be live. It could be a book or a TV show, whatever. I mean, you can find inspiration, but there's hope. There's somebody. I kind of equate it to, well, either two things. Which you want the piano lesson, and you want the piano teacher analogy or the mountain analogy? I'll give you choice.
Either one.
Either one. Oh, so if it's the mountain analogy, first you have to have the desire to overcome your it. You have to have desire. Then you have to be able to see, like, the mountain. Some people can't even see that mountain. It's there. But so you have to be able to see it. And then you have to get the tools to climb the mountain. So if you're going to climb Mount Everest, you need the Sherpa, you need your crayons, you need your light, you need your warm clothes, your gloves, your boots, all those clothes to protect you, and the ropes, and the belay ropes, and those, what do you call those things? The clips, the belay clips. That's not the
Yeah.
word, or whatever it is. And then you have to have all those tools. And then you have to get a Sherpa, because nobody wants to climb Mount Everest without a guide. You got to have one of those people. And then you got to have that. And then you have to believe that you're going to climb your mountain. And then of course you have to, and you don't want to just climb Mount Everest the first day you have that desire. So you have to practice. You have to practice on land, and then you have to go up, maybe 5,000 feet, and then maybe 10, and then 15. And you want to practice some other, 14, what do you call it, 14ers. And then you want to do that for a while and get used to that. And then, you might raise it up. Then you want to start climbing some other mountains before you do Mount Everest. Because that just sucks to climb that the first time. And then, so you practice, practice, practice. And then you keep believing that you can do it. And then when you get to the top, you have to celebrate the struggle. So similar to piano lessons, you have to have the desire, you have to have the piano bench and the light and the music, you have to have the teacher, you have to practice, you have to have the faith that you can climb the mountain, and then learn that piece, and then you get to celebrate it by playing it for somebody else or whatever. So in life, you have to have those 6 or 7 tools to to do it. And there's always somebody that's gone before you, and there'll always be people to come after us. And none of us have the answer, but you just have to believe in yourself that you know the answer inside you already. You already know what you need. Is it a psychotherapist? Is it to chat with somebody, to have a cup of tea with them, to go have lunch? Does it go riding? Is it go jogging? Is it to go run? Because we need to get it out of our body somehow, that toxicity, because it's in your body stored up. I did, the Gestalt psychotherapy, so I hit and kicked my way through to health, and that's what my body needed, because I felt so trapped. And I'm not really good at running except on a treadmill, but so you got to get it out of your body, you got to get it out of your mind, you got to get it out of your being, so you can live again. And so ever how you choose to do that, and you have choice. You have choice of how you choose to live your life. You can be the victim of your circumstances, or you can let your circumstances give you your wings to fly. You have choice. Don't be
Nice.
the victim. I always say this to my friends, don't be the victim. As soon as you know, because that's our ego's job. It wants us to be the victim. It wants us to go, oh, you're so great. Or you're nothing. You're nothing. You'll always be nothing. You never will. Yeah, here's that chocolate cake. Just go eat it. And it will always tempt us. And so we have to learn to live with that ego and go, thank you for sharing. I don't choose to eat that chocolate cake right now. I don't choose to do that right now. And sometimes we do, where our willpower gets low, and you just have to go, I did that. And to keep on going. And I guess in closing too, I've written a couple blogs lately about me and my journey with CNI dogs. And I kind of look at spirit like holding on to the harness handle. And you get to follow your dog. You get to follow spirit. And sometimes the dog would trip you off the path, because a dog's a dog. And not the spirit's doing that, but and sometimes we fall. And when you fall at 4 miles an hour, let me tell you, it's a hard fall. And do you get up, or do you sit there and do you ask for help? Sometimes. Do you get up immediately? Sometimes. Do you get hurt sometimes? Yeah, you do. And it's and at the crossroads in life, like the streets when I cross with a dog, do I listen to are there going to be cars? Is there danger? Yeah. Am I afraid to cross the street? Yeah, you betcha. And and then, but my desire to cross it has to be bigger than that fear. And am I going to face the traffic? Am I going to go anyway? And I keep following spirit. I keep following my dog. If I hold on to the handle too tight, it's going to cause spirit, the dog to go, oh, what's she doing? And it's going to cause miscommunication. If I gently hold on to the harness handle to spirit, I can let spirit guide me. I used to have a friend that said, be followed like the wind, be guided like the star, but go with the flow like the wind. And that's the same way I work with my dog. I had to follow the dog. So when the dog goes left, I go left. When the dog goes right, I go right. But I'm still gently following the divine intelligence of the dog, of the spirit.
I love it. I love your advice and I love your story. Thank you so much for being here.
I know I go on and on. I
No,
could talk all
I
day.
love it because I think it's amazing that when you have a disability like blindness, that's an over, when I was younger, I remember being asked that question, would you rather be
Mhm.
blind or would
Blind
you
or
rather
deaf.
be deaf?
Yep.
And that's a really tough one because I love music. And so
Mhm.
I give you kudos for overcoming the challenge. And instead of like I've worked in the medical field, so everybody gets a choice when you get that diagnosis. You
Mhm.
have a choice to become your diagnosis, or you have
Mhm.
a choice to be kind of like I tell people, I'm not my trauma. So you
Right.
don't have to be your disability. And I think you're just a great, awesome person out there, for an example out there for people to look up to know that as long as you have courage and you follow your intuition and the divine,
Mhm. Yep.
you'll
Yep.
you're gonna make it. And I always tell people, follow what makes you happy because
Absolutely.
um
That's where your passion and your purpose is.
exactly. And it's not money because we're
No.
hardwired as humans to want. And when we want, and then we get, and then that desire, that happiness only stays around for a few moments. And then
Mhm.
we're off to the next, I want. And then when you
Mhm.
find joy, you're that's kind of the spiritual process, as you learn
Mhm.
that you don't need material things. You can follow your purpose, because that's where we get hung up at. We don't follow our purpose because of our
Right.
job, because
Right.
we need whatever. So ladies and gentlemen, this fits my this backs me up that if you continue to follow your purpose and not worry about the money part of it, the money part always will come in, because spirit's never going to let you drown. You will be on to great things and actually enjoying true joy. Now, where can our viewers uh, get your book, or if they where can they reach you at if they would like to chat with you, if they connected with you today?
Absolutely. So my book's on Amazon, it's on Audible, if people were visually impaired, it's on Bard, and they'd know what that means, or the Library for the Blind. Um, it's everywhere. And I have a website, and the book's Soaring Into Greatness. So guess what? The website is Soaring Into Greatness. And my email, what is that? Gail at soaringintogreatness.com. I have a theme here, soaring into greatness. So,
I
and I
love
love
it.
flying. I love Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and he's been my little role model my whole life of flying. And you know, that you can do that. You can just do whatever it is you want. So, he's one of my little role models.
Fantastic. Well, I really enjoyed having this interview, and I'm really happy to share your story. And all of your links and everything will be at the bottom. So please go out and support Gail, and get her book, Soaring Into Greatness. This is an awesome story. You've heard a little snippets of it, but what the snippets you've heard here aren't anything to what the book is. So go get that and support her. And thank you so much for being here. So
Thank you so much for having me.
So, well, there you have it, beautiful souls. Another powerful guest that has learned to survive their swim in the toxic waters and break up with their toxic dance partner, fear. If you need help trying to find a new dance partner, please reach out to myself or Gail today on the show and let us show you how a single four-letter word can change your whole mindset. And that four-letter word is love. With love, all things are possible. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dancing in the Toxic Shadows. Until we meet again, this is Just Intuitive Angel Healer sending healing angel vibes. Love and light, everybody. Take care.